Double teamed off the left-hand dribble, curls back to the right hand, coming right down the middle of Disney World, hands it to Derek Favors, and he's on the ride, and he's screaming with his hands up high as he hammers it home, and the Jazz are up 16.
Jazz wrapping up their road trip in Memphis. It is tip-off. Pow! I get to go home. I get to go home. I think I've gained 10 pounds, tweaked my back. Oh, my God, I get to go home. I get to see my kids. You guys want to talk basketball? I want to talk about going home. We are in Memphis for the 6th stop of the Hanukkah road trip. I've changed the name of it because it's the Christmas road trip or holiday road trip or whatever we call it, but really, we're like about to light every candle of Hanukkah on this trip. I think there's one more left. Tomorrow, it's the final night of Hanukkah, and otherwise we'd light every candle of Hanukkah on this road trip. I tell you, yeah, it has reached that point. We had a wonderful day yesterday, though. We went to St. Jude's, which I've never been to before. If you don't know the story on St. Jude's is a cancer research hospital for young kids, and it's incredible because they do a huge amount of research there. 80% of it, I think, is funded by just public donation. And they have 800 patients, I think they said. Is that right? 800? Yeah, I think so. All youth, and often with cancers that other people can't cure or whatever the reason, and you don't pay anything. You don't pay your housing. You don't pay your food. You don't pay your medical bills. You don't pay anything. It's all publicly funded. Or 80% of it is publicly funded via donations, and it was an incredible place. Our players are so fabulous with this. Our guys are such good guys, and they were so good with the kids, and all of them really were. I mean, Ennis is terrific, and Jeremy's fabulous, but all of them were. And Trey was right down at the table with a young boy and playing with him, and it's neat. It's interesting. It's interesting because Trevor wasn't with us. He's in Charlotte for a minor medical procedure. He'll be fine, but he wasn't with us. So really, you have Trey and Steve Novak, I think, are the only ones who have kids on our entire team, which is interesting to see. Novak clearly, with his 3 kids, had some fabulous questions that he was asking, and it's interesting to, the perspective difference of where our guys are life-wise than some others would be with more kids. But our guys were great, and but that's not what this is about. It's about St. Jude's and what they do and being able to give. Then we had a Central Barbecue. Is probably the best barbecue place here in Memphis. We had a quick team dinner over at Central Barbecue, which was awfully nice of the team to have, and it was awesome. And it's been, one of the more fortunate things is great group of guys and the production and TV crew and all the people, Craig and Ron and people you see, but there's a behind the scenes crew of Travis Henderson and Joe Kruger and Scott Rogers that travel with us, and Derek and Jonathan are the PR people, and they're all just such good people. It makes it feasible to go out on this long a trip and not feel like you're going to kill each other and be, you're yearning for home, but still enjoying yourself. So we get to go home. It's been a long trip. Those aren't complaints, by the way. Those are just facts. All right, let's do the NBA 5. Lots of stuff going on. Big picture NBA. I always like to kind of every now and then scan the last 10 games of the NBA and see what's going on. What's going on is the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks are the number 1 defensive team in the NBA right now over the last 10 games. They are the number 1 team overall in the last 10 games. They have they're interesting. I mean, they're really playing with a Popovichian philosophy. They're the number 1 assist ratio team in the league. They're 30th in the league in offensive rebounding. They're 2nd in the league in defensive rebounding. This is a huge part of where Quinn came from with his year with Budenholzer last year, and it's working. They're 17th in pace of play. They're not crazy in pace of play, but they have clicked in. The other one that's clicked in is Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is 3rd best team overall in the last 10 games. They did not look great last night. Russell did some weird things, but they are the overall. They have the 3rd best team overall. And what's also interesting is You have to be top 10 in both offense and defense to really win a title. Right now, Golden State, Oklahoma City, and Washington over the last 10 games are the only teams that have done that. Jazz are about 25th in the last 10 games, including our disaster in Charlotte. If we could probably walk ourselves to 21st or 22nd for some period of time this year, that would be probably the next step in progress. We're getting late enough in the month that you can also kind of look at December, which gives you a larger sample size and probably half the season rather than just the most recent trend. And boom, there it is again. Atlanta's the number one team in the NBA. Golden State's 2, Clippers are 3, Washington's 4, Toronto's 5. Their defense is slipping. Oklahoma City is 6 since December, pretty amazing. Portland is 7, Chicago's 8, Dallas, spiked in their Rondo trade, 9, and Boston is 10th. So maybe just playing Eastern Conference teams. These are similar. I mean, that's really most teams have only played 10 or 11 games. So we find a lot of similar findings there if you do the month of December rather than the last 10 games. But just eye-opening. Last night, Oklahoma City played New Orleans. Oklahoma City lost. Westbrook was brutal down the stretch. But actually, both teams were brutal down the stretch. Anthony Davis, 38 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks. That's his 5th 30, 10, and 3 game of the year, which is just incredible. He's amazing. And he does it with such elegance and without that kind of Shaq dominance, which makes you wonder if there's even another tier. Like, if he gets selfish, is it going to be 40 every night? It might be. Kobe was a disaster last night. Kobe played 37 minutes. He was 8 of 30 from the floor. He had 9 turnovers. It's arguably one of the worst single offensive nights in the history of the NBA. To take that many shots, turned over that many times in that few, it's really almost never been done before. Tom Haberstroh did an interesting piece on ESPN. Kobe has taken more contested mid-range jumpers this year than 12 of the teams in the NBA, including the Utah Jazz. Houston's taken the fewest. Atlanta's taken the second fewest. We've taken, I think, the 4th fewest. But Kobe has taken more mid-range jumpers, contested mid-range jumpers than 12 teams, and he's not good at them. Right? There's the real misnomer. He's not good at them. Kobe is a disaster, and it's sad, actually. And the numbers are just getting so telling. The Lakers, who are obviously not good, but they have no other players on the team, is your easy answer. But they're 8 points per 100 possessions better when he's off the floor offensively, and they're 16 points per 100 possessions better when he's off the floor defensively. Now, they wouldn't be able to maintain that for a long period of time, but it's just telling. You don't have that on any other player who's supposedly good in the league. I mean, don't get lured into the Kobe percentages of points. He's averaging 25 points a game. He's shooting 37% from the floor and 27% from 3. He is going to the line 8 times a game. He's awful. Really. No other way to say it. He's awful. And it is a huge detriment to the well-being of that franchise. A few other notes. Cavs have won 11 of 12. Brooklyn can't click in, but interesting. Mason Plumlee goes 18 and 10 last night when Brook Lopez is out. Makes you wonder why they have Brook Lopez. Darren Williams trade talk. Woj reported that there's early talks between Sacramento and Utah. Sacramento and Brooklyn, sorry. And probably makes some sense for Sacramento, though it's stunning how similar Darren's numbers are to Darren Collison. But with Rudy Gay and DeMarcus Cousins, maybe. So they give up Jason Thompson they don't care about, and some other non-influential piece. Might be worth it. I don't think Darren looks terrible when I watch him, but he's not. His career obviously is not headed in the direction that anybody thought. I don't think it would make a huge difference for Sacramento, frankly. I'm not sure it would put them over the edge in regards to who they would become. I don't know. I haven't run I was actually running numbers looking at players last night and where players rank in their position, and I found some interesting things last night when I was running that, but I don't recall finding Darren anywhere in particular, which would really mean that what I didn't find was Darren anywhere near the top. Um, actually, he's not. Darren's Locke offensive rating right now is a 9.1. Collison's is a 9.7. League average is 10. Both of them use a position. Actually, league average right now is 9.3. It rises throughout the year. Both of them use a possession slightly below the league average. Purely on the use of their own possessions, Corey Joseph, Shabazz Napier, Darren Collison, John Wall, Derek Williams, and Derek Rose are all kind of crumpled, and then there's a pretty big drop. Then you kind of get into the sets. That's the bottom guys on the first on the Then you get to AJ Price, JJ Barea, Drew Holiday, Brian Roberts, Luke Ridnour, Reggie Jackson, Jordan Farmer, Jared Jack, Shane Larkin, Jameer Nelson, Steve Blake, Avery Bradley, Ty Lawson slips in as below replacement level. So does Brandon Jennings of starters, but now you're into the lower level. Marcus Smart, Shannon Brown, Shelvin Mack, DJ Augustine, Kemba Walker, who's crazy and efficient, all the way down to the bottom of the list, which is Nate Robinson right now, Nate Wolters, Rajon Rondo, Michael Carter Williams, Alfred Payton, Pill Pressey, Trey Burke. So those are that is your NBA 5. Call and ask Ron Boone a question at 801-237-38. That's 801-237-38, and have Ron answer a question of yours during the broadcast. Charlotte loss, I'll go start there, truly is 4 games, 5 nights. We've talked about we got a bunch of guys doing things they've never done before. Alec looked like he couldn't get his feet off the ground when he was running. Ennis has not played 4 games in 5 nights. We didn't play 4 games in 5 nights last year, by the way. These guys have never done what they had to do the other night, and it looked it. And Alec and Ennis will learn over time how to turn their 2 of 9s into 3 of 7s. You have bad nights, you got to minimize them. Right now, they're maximizing. So we were dead early. Quinn took a timeout 3 possessions into the game, trying to get some defensive rotations fixed, and that was a scheduling night. Orlando, to me, was the best consecutive defensive performance I've seen. Ennis was really good out of the post. There were a bunch of rotations. There were times where guys were supposed to do things correctly, and you began to see it coming together. You saw 3 and 4 possessions in a row where the Jazz started to play the game correctly in a fashion that maybe we haven't really seen them do defensively. We're still not good rating-wise, but you're beginning to see execution of game plan and things coming together. And there's Trey really is having a tough time at point of attack, and if you can't help out point of attack, you're not going to be a good defensive team. So until that is rectified and improved upon, then we're not going to be in. If we can get to 22nd ranking defensively, I think that would be a yeoman effort to be able to get there. But you're beginning to. You saw like in that night that you saw some of the pieces and some of the guys making the plays, and rotating correctly and helping each other out. In that game plan, I remember before the game in that game plan, I was thinking to myself, wow, this is really a trust night. It's not complicated because Orlando doesn't do a lot of movement, but it's a trust night. And, Ennis has got to be able to go dig down in on Vucevic in the post and trust that Alec is going to shade toward his man, giving him enough time to get back. And then Alec's got to trust that Gordon's going to shade so that Alec has enough time to get back. And then Gordon's got to trust they're going to put up enough ball pressure so that the guys can't swing it all the way to the corner to Harris for a wide open 3 that Gordon gets burned on. Similarly, there were plays where, they're going to hedge on the pick, and then the roll man's got to believe that Gordon's going to cut off the legs of Vucevic while he runs down, while whoever recovers, and then Gordon again has to trust that they put up enough ball pressure so the ball doesn't get right to the corner immediately. And for the most part on that night, I thought I saw the guys doing that. I thought that I saw them trusting each other, believing each other, and I saw them executing it. So I thought that was a really good sign. A few notes from the road trip. Gordon's just been really good. 19 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Alec Burks is shooting 47% from three on the road trip. He has slipped, though. Both of our starting guards are below 40% shooting on the season. It's hard to win 8 games doing that, actually. Trey is down to 38% and only averaging 2 assists a game on this road trip. It has not been his best stretch. So a lot of this road trip has been about Rudy. 73% shooting by Rudy offensively, showing he can do some things. On the offensive end, we have not been great when he's on the floor offensively. Again, that's got a lot of noise to it. It's got a lot of other players on the floor. But he is, and defensively, he continues to impact games. I mean, we're dramatically better when Rudy's on the floor defensively. Teams are figuring him out a little bit more. They're aware of him. They're game planning a little differently. They're doing some things differently on when they attack. They're looking for the pass now, so they're getting their shots in restricted area. The percentages are increasing. It's all part of the evolution there. And Dante Exum shooting 56% and 50% from three. On this road trip, the defensive rating when Rudy's on the floor is up to a 108. It's still one of the better ratings on the team. Only Dante's got a better one. Actually, Gordon has a better one. But it's on this road trip. It's 108. When he's off, though, it's up to 111. Offensively, when Rudy's on the floor this trip, we're at 96.5. And when he's off, it's at 115.7. So that's a pretty big difference. Now, he's often playing without Gordon, who the numbers are just startling. On this road trip, per 100 possessions, when Gordon Hayward is off the floor, we are minus 33 points per 100 possessions. You got that? Should I say it again? When Gordon Hayward is off the floor on this road trip, our defensive rating is 124.9 and our offensive rating is 91.6. Minus 33.3. It's really awful. It's interesting. We're negative with just about everybody, almost everybody off the floor, except for a few exceptions. It's a weird. Really good teams are positive when everybody's off the floor. We're not there yet. Alex got some plus minus issues going on this trip that are heading the wrong direction. They may be related to that second unit with Alec on the floor. Doesn't seem to be playing quite as well as you'd want it to. Trevor Booker is not with us, so we could see the 3 big rotation of Gobert, Favors, and Cantor, except for the fact that they're not playing Zach Randolph, which makes it more difficult to do that. John Lohr will be their big man who stretches out a little bit. So not quite sure how that'll play. By the way, on the road trip, Rudy Gobert is averaging oh wait, no, that's per 48 minutes. Never mind. Per 48 minutes, he's averaging 10 rebounds a game. But that's not right. On the road trip, Rudy Gobert is averaging, he has, I think, 35 rebounds in 5 games, if I'm right. 8.4, so he's a little more than that. Derek has 35. Pretty good. 7 points, 8 rebounds, 73% shooting, but still has to, still a lot of work to do. I'm not sure I understand, well, maybe I do understand it, but I hear every now and then people, he's got to start now. No, let him do this. This is the first time he's ever been a rotation player in the NBA. Let him do this, and then let the next step happen and the next step happen. All right, let's go to Courtney Garter. Trey Burke has only shot 42 free throws this season. This is telling me he is not being aggressive with the ball in his hands. 40% of his shots are threes, with a percentage of 30%. Can we expound on why we give him so many minutes? Who else are you giving minutes to? Dante's not playing more than 15 to 20 minutes. Would be a bad choice. There's a huge difference between Russell Westbrook minutes and Reggie Jackson minutes. There's a huge difference between Michael Conley minutes tonight and Beno Udrich minutes tonight. There's a huge difference between I don't know, Chris Paul minutes and Jordan Farmar minutes. Let it be. There's level of impatience. Trey's got to play better, right? I mean, there's no question. Trey's got to play better. The other one, by the way, on this is, like, okay, so you decide, like, let's go with those two examples. You decide, oh, well, Rudy, so I'm just going to bench Ennis. Like, so you're just going to give up on him? You're just going to relegate him to the bench at this point? Like, it's over? Guy's playing his ass off. He's playing really damn well, too. Darn well. Right? You're just going to, we're less than 100 games into Trey's career. We're just going to decide it's over? Not really, guys. Not part of the process here. Not part of the develop. I mean, this is not an easy process to go through. I got it, but it's there takes some time. Trey's got to figure some things out. There's no question, right? Like the way Trey's playing is, he's got to figure some things out. He knows that. Everyone knows that. You can't exist in the league as a 36% shooter and a 30% three. It just doesn't. It hasn't happened. Like Jason Williams, remember White Chocolate is like the only player in the history of the game to have had that. So, I think you got to understand a little bit that's so you got to give him a chance. Let it play out. Usually does. But Trey's got a lack of athleticism too on those 42 free throws. It means he can't just go into guys and over them and overpower them. What would you consider the best Jazz moment so far heading into Christmas break? What have you enjoyed the most? Happy holidays to you and your family. Oh, I think I've enjoyed the most watching Quinn and his staff put this team together and try to figure out how to make them play and watch shoot-arounds and watch the work and then see it come to fruition. I think the greatest moments have to be the Gordon Hayward and Trey Burke shots, right? Had some fun, exciting game. Our games are great. All right, we're home the 27th against Philadelphia. I hope to see you out there. Then Minnesota comes in after that. Look forward to it. Have a great holidays. I might tip tomorrow. We'll see. And if I do tip-off tomorrow, then that'll be the last one for a little while. But I might recap the Grizzly game or just to the holidays. That's questionable, though, frankly. A little girl wakes up, wants to play. You lose. Playing with the kids tomorrow. Son's training, but playing with the kids tomorrow. All right, thanks, guys. See you.